Hello, everyone. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Martinez. Good morning, Sterling. Good morning, Jacob. Who else is here? Good morning, people in background. Because I'm just looking at the comparison numbers. Oh, yeah, we had Morgan Stanley earnings. We had also ASML. We had Procter Gamble, which was up and had triggered a double bottom, if anybody had noticed that. By the way, Netflix on a 4 hour going into earnings. It could be invalidated before earnings, but it does have a potential double bottom. So if you're into Netflix, you might want to keep an eye on that. Sorry, still under the weather, running a fever this morning, but we will get through this. It'll probably be a little quicker than normal. We had mortgage information, building permits, housing starts, which is very minor at this point, so not much to talk about there. We got the crude numbers out at 9:30 Central, so about an hour 25 minutes. We got Waller, Williams, Bowman, Fed Beige Book, Harker, and Cook. And everyone besides Cook is during market hours, so just keep that in mind. The big stuff is tomorrow, jobless claims, but more important, when Powell is speaking. I think this is the last major speech before that he's doing before the quiet period and before the potential November 1st pause. So keep that in mind. But tomorrow's the big day, and after the close, we have Tesla and Netflix. Hey, Chris, what day would that be? What day is it, Chris Plummer? Hey, Christoph. Some double bottoms in the oversold XLP space, ADM, CHD, SYY. Thank you for putting those in, Christoph. Christoph is becoming the master of doubles. So, NVIDIA, Morgan Stanley cuts the target price to 600 from 630. I can't stand analysts. I'm sorry. Analysts are not traders. So pretty red across the board this morning, besides Procter Gamble, which did have earnings this morning. And oil is up a little, although the crude futures were selling back down. I'm going to really be paying attention to these EIA numbers at 9:30 Central. Home Depot up a little, but everything else pretty negatives. Financials and the banks have turned back down. So we'll keep an eye on that. Good morning, Royal Palms. Good morning, groups. Energy, let's just refresh this real quick. Energy is pretty much the only positive things. Utilities flat, consumer defensive flat, and everything. So it might be a slight rotation into some safer assets today. But technology, consumer cyclical, comm services, financials definitely leading it down pre-market. We're still, the highest thing for any rate hike is about 38% for January. So we're still pretty much, we're baked in for the pause. Again, it'll be seeing if anything moves after all the Fed speak and Powell speaking tomorrow. Fear and greed still solidly in fear mode at 35. As I talked about, ASML, which missed on revenue. PG was a beat. Morgan Stanley was a beat, but is a gap down. Those are the ones I was watching. Tesla and Netflix after the close. Discover. Well, interesting to see if their charge-offs are rising. And then tomorrow we got TSMC, American Airlines, AT&T, but the biggest one I'm watching is TSMC. How does this look, by the way? Can everybody see this on the TradingView economic calendar? We might switch to this one. Can you see this light grayed out one? I'm just wondering, versus the ones that are coming up. I wish I could adjust this setting. I haven't found a way to do it yet. But can everybody still see this if we do switch to this calendar? I'm just wondering right there. So let me know in the chat. Also, the heat map, I wish they'd change this up a bit because we could switch to this one too, but it's not as informative. Not as informative, at least from my standpoint. We had the volatility yesterday. Remember, I said going into the open, I was watching the 62.5 right there. Yesterday, if this is before we updated, look at this. Boom, 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 boom. And the sharp reversal, the momentum off of there. And then we went into full-blown chop mode after the failed speaker vote for Jim Jordan. So What am I looking for today? What's interesting, I'm going to boy, I can't talk. Sorry about that. Again, I'm feeling under the weather and running a fever. But bonds are breaking below the October 4th lows. So yields are climbing, which should be putting more pressure on the market, but the market's not reacting that much yet. You can see here, yields have not yet taken out the tops from the 6th and the 4th, but closing in on it. So even if you're not trading the yields, I'd be keeping a close eye on this today, especially with all the Fed speak and especially going into Powell's speech tomorrow. Why am I keeping an eye even if you're not trading that? Because if those really start breaking out, we could see some pressure in the futures. Right now, so far, an inside day to a pretty volatile day yesterday, so I'm paying attention to yesterday's low. Yesterday's low, yes, we still have the potential double in place. It needs a daily close below 43.40. Right this morning, I'm watching 43.71, 43.72. We start closing below that and then get a follow-through close below yesterday's lows. I will watch for continued breakdown. In order to get anything bullish, I need a break above about 44.08. Okay, those are the key things I am watching going into the open. And you see it's been in a big sort of volatile back and forth congestion consolidation pattern that's formed a still valid potential double top. All right, you can see it. Thank you. Sterling says it's very faded. Trading view calendar looks good. We might, so let's see, clear as HD. Thank you. Thank you. So Sterling, you might have to adjust your monitor. No, we'll see. I'm going to look, I like their, reason I'm thinking of doing the economic calendar is because their forecast numbers are more reliable. Okay, I wish I had a Bloomberg terminal. Not going to pay $2,500 a month for it anymore, but so we'll have to go with this. So we'll see. Just start to get some feedback. So that's what I'm looking at in the Dow. I mean the S&P, not the Dow. With yesterday's spike up, also the potential targets changed on the potential double. If it does close below 43.40.75, the targets are 42.99.50, 42.79, and 42.58 area. And look at that, would take it back down the 87.5 harmonic with the 200. So I'm really paying close attention to that. It might never trigger. It might get invalidated before it triggers, but that's the key thing I'm paying attention to, the downside. So Eric, thank you for being here. So I can't get into all that right now, but thank you for doing the full disclosure also with paper trading yesterday. So if you're interested in what Eric's doing, please look at his comment. You can see how we had the little mini pattern here, the little mini double, breaking down, hitting the targets, and then reversing and back in the channel. Now the channel is starting to fade right now. The channel is starting to fade, but what am I keeping an eye on at this point? It's really the two key levels are 15,100 and then the potential breakdown. We did eke out a slightly lower low than Friday the 13th low. So then the next key area would be the low from yesterday, 1550. Below there, 1511 and 14,961 are the breakdown points. The key on any closing basis is still 14,917. On any rally, targets 15,200 to 15,207 and then about 15,260. The Dow is that? Let me just see something. Now this is an incredibly interesting, yeah. And it's technically valid. It's lopsided, it's sloppy-sided, but you get a close in the Dow below 33,966. It triggers a mini double. And that could take us to the October 12th low area, or at least the closing low on the 4-hour chart. And that would need a 4-hour close below that side. So I will be watching that for a potential breakdown. Now, if we do rotate back up, above this 34,225 area, that is invalidated. My targets for the upside, if it gets strength in the open, 34,150, then 34,200 to 34,225. The targets to downside, if we trigger the double, 33,822, 33,750, 33,678. Russell, which I'm really surprised at yesterday's price action, but has not closed above the rotation zone yet. Still looking at the harmonics. If we do rally about 1778, then 1783, and then 1793, which was sharp reversal yesterday to the downside, 1754, 1744, and 1734. Other than that, the only thing that puts me in the short-term bullish mode is the close on a daily basis above 1802.7. Good morning, Richard. So, has re-entered the daily rotation zone. Yep. So we're going to keep an eye, especially if it breaks the rotation zone and can get a rally on. And by the way, if it does trigger the double, my major target is going to be the second target. Second target for this one, not only is a flat 200, but it's also a major breakdown zone. You can see it right here. Look at all that. VIX, still watching 18s. If we break down below 18s, I'll start focusing more on a potential rally, or at least choppy to rally. If we stay above 18, favoring choppy to bearish. DAX, still, this is not invalidated on a daily basis, the double, but if we start breaking below 15.2, we could make a quick trip to retest the lows from October 4th area, the low area. We already looked at the notes. Trying to eke out, it eked at the slightly lower low so far. Still getting a little buying coming in here, but if that breaks, 105.26 and 105.16 and a half. The yields still at this is, on the bigger time frame, it's still a double top. On the daily, this is why triple tops only slightly favor a continuation, because you can get mixed messages also. And in testing, it's only a couple percentage points. People give it a little too much, but I will be watching for that break above 4.88. 4.97 is the next key minor target. 10-2 bear steepening, trying to steepen again, holding the rotation zone, holding a key major support level, and the little minor resistance level before the last break higher. Dollar index. Still trying. I'm watching for this trend line to break above there. Remember, barely just closed above the 62.5, so still watching for some upwards price action in there, unless we really start breaking below about 105.60 again. Crude tried to pop again. And a quick little reversal, paying very close in the EIA numbers, but you get a 4-hour close below 85.60. It could reverse the move down. 84.23, 83.56, 82.87. And that would also, and I think it would invalidate the not yet first target hit double. Yes, it would, because if it closed, now it has to close below 83.64 area to invalidate the double that's been triggered. But that's what I'm keeping an eye on. This morning with the EIA numbers, Natty Gas still holding the second level of support in the rotation zone. Really needs to start getting some movement above about 318. Gold, I talked yesterday, if we broke above here, it was the potential breakout play. The double's been invalidated. We are not getting the pullback move, so the next key target is about 1987. The next minor target is 1974. Next major target, 1987. Close above 1987.2. I'll be targeting over 2,000. Will be the targets I will be looking at. What else do we have? By the way, 10-year yield, keep a close eye on this with Japan. Do have a potential double top, but this could start moving higher. If we get yen intervention, that's the only thing that might trigger that double. And the you can see right here, this is not yet invalidated, but getting very sloppy and extended. It's really this 104, 149.86 level. You break above that, it's going to get interesting for the yen. The euro, still keeping an eye to see if it closes above the high of 106.40 roughly to trigger a continuation pattern. And this looks like it's turning into a potential channeling pattern. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Pound, nothing yet. Nothing yet on this shorter term. This is still technically valid, but it needs to close above 122.19. The spiders, look at that. The spiders and the Qs yesterday again, still spiking above the first target and reversing. So targets, we're looking at today 430, 421. First key target area is 436. Then I'm going to I'd be a little more aggressive raising any bullish play stops to watch for reversals about 437.15 and then 438.15, 439.02, 441.41. But this is given multiple opportunities to do something at the first target. To the downside, the key target still on any break below yesterday's lows of 432.45 would be the closing of 431.50 and then the low price of 429.88 to 429.16, and on any closing basis 426.92. Those are all the downside targets, but it still does favor some upside price action in the spiders. The Qs, 366 roughly today, 368.20 for the gap fill. The key area at this point is yesterday's lows, 363.66 to about 363.86. That breaks, cluster 362.50, and then on a closing basis 359.75. Resistance, if we do fill the gap fill coming up, you see also is a harmonic level around that 368.15, and then a major resistance area is 370. Above there, we're looking at about 371, 370.92, 371, and then it would be a retest of the highs from the 12th. And regarding crude, did I miss the rollover? Thanks, Christoph. Yeah, you're right. It's the rollover. It's the rollover. Thank you. I missed the rollover. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, the bond market is much larger. That's why at this point, I'm surprised the stocks are holding up so well. Where else are we? Oh, we have, what do we have? Netflix today. This is Bflix. Jeez. I can't type. This is the only thing that could get invalidated, but keeping an eye, 363.07. If it doesn't get invalidated with today's price action. But remember, it's against the rotation zone, so it's a lower probability. And all that would be for a potential pop back to the 200 into the daily rotation zone. Other than that, the next, if Netflix does a miss-a-rooney, minor support coming in about 347, major support at 324. And Tesla, still, the double still, it's getting extended to the right-hand side, but and it's right at the 200. It's so interesting. The stuff I'm watching for going into earnings is 234.09. Below there would be the 213 level. And if the trigger's still the potential double top, then we'll talk about that later. Other than that, to the upside, the levels are 267 and 277.50, then 288.42. All right. What do we have? Disney daily double bottom above critical resistance. Then I got to run daily double bottom. Let me see what this looks like on the weekly. That's actually a pretty nice weekly pattern. Pretty nice weekly pattern there. It could be out of the way of the rotation zone, so I'll have to watch that. It's going to be really close, but I watched for that to trigger on the weekly. What other ones did you put in here earlier? Where Hump Day? Yes, Hump Day. Hump Day. XLP. XLP. The consumer staples. You got to flip this around, by the way. Wrong one. Shoot. I hate when I grab the wrong one. But let's see what the last little line down. Consumer staples on any bounce. We're looking back to 37.50. On that area, is this a double? I actually didn't look. No, it's not. So no double there, but there's a couple in there. We have ADM. Thanks to Christoph putting these in there. That looks correct. Again, against the longer term trend. So that has triggered 76.30, 77.03, 77.75. Just these are against all the higher time frame rotation zones. So keep that in mind. You have to be sort of nimble with the targets. But that definitely looking like it triggered. What else? CHD. CHD also. A little mini trigger. Back to the potential 200 on the daily. And to the rotation zone and the 50 on the weekly. Finding support at the 200 on the week. And thank you again for pushing these in there. SYY. SYY would be bouncing into the rotation zone on the weekly, and the daily's got a little mini double against the rotation zone, but has triggered. And that target could take it back. I'd really be focusing on the first and second targets on this one. But keep in mind, those are all against the longer-term trend still. So it's a bounce play only from my perspective. Back to the S&P. Let's just take a look at it going into the open. Do we have that? Nope. And nope. So I'll be looking at roughly about 43.86, 43.87 going into the open as resistance, and 43.78, 43.77 as support. Again, we break down below that 43.77, 43.71, 43.66. If we start closing below 43.71, at least on the 1 hour time frame, I will look for a continued choppy pullback. Oh boy, what wonderful news do we have now? Hard support, still vertical puts on Disney, selling vertical puts. I can't read either. On Disney, very range bound. It is still a bit, but keep an eye if that weekly double bottom were to trigger on Disney. Keep an eye on that because it's been building it's trying to build a higher base bottoming pattern. Just keep an eye on that. That could be a pop back to the 200. I would not be long-term bullish, but that could be a little pop play. And to the major breakdown zone. So if you're selling puts, just keep, or selling, if you're doing anything on the selling call side, just keep that in mind. Selling puts, yeah, you can collect the premium right now. It's trying to keep a very strong base in there. And URA, guys are trying to keep me around. URA still has, this is still a valid potential double bottom. Nothing else to talk about there. Still holding a very key support level. All right, I shall talk to everyone later. Have a wonderful trading day. Bye for now.